the response that is coming from the federal government is adequate enough to avert any of the dangers that may be coming out of the drought or flooding. I emphasized that the responsibility in the federal government goes in line with how we are also organized. So the federal government has a role, the regional governments also do have a role, the communities, the private sector, everyone has a role. So if we have a feeling or a thought which we would like to contribute towards this end, it means like we have to also contribute materially so that we will support the needy people. So within the gross assessment, which we call it the household economic analysis, also the displacement tracking matrix, village assessment survey, early warning, early action results, and also any rapid onset type of disasters, concluded for the year. The worst period will be during July-September, which is now equivalent to 10.8 million beneficiaries when we reach to that season. But as we speak now, for the January, February, March, the beneficiary number is at 6.6. The government of Ethiopia, through the commission, is now deploying a huge amount of resource to address the most needy people. And that may go to the extent of $200 million in the last 5-6 months. And as I speak, for the upcoming season, we are also investing close to $50 million. This is a substantial amount of contribution from the federal government to the regional states, and from the 6.6, probably 3.5 million beneficiaries are coming from northern Ethiopia. And this is Tigray, Amhara region, and Afar. Of course, we have challenge in Somali regional state, in Oromia, in other parts of the country as well. Therefore, the response which we are doing at the federal level has to complement with the responses at the regional level as well. So if the regional states, if they think that the drought is deteriorating into famine, then what it declares is they have to take very serious actions. Serious actions in terms of diverting all programs, all projects, all activities to save lives and livelihoods. If this is not happening at the same time, for the people whom we are accountable for the people whom we think we are responsible for, then it doesn't make sense. So the regional government has to do its own task. The federal government has to do its own task. The federal government is destined to cover the serious ones, which we call it the priority ones. The priority ones are labeled like household economic analysis level 5 and level 4. And in terms of the priority, these are like a top priorities. In addition to the top priorities, the remaining beneficiaries have to be handled by the regional state themselves. That's how we work. And this is a federally arranged country where the regions are also getting their own budgetary allocations, including subsidies. So what it means is you cannot count 100% only at the federal government, because you have also much of the share of the resources in your hands as well. This is not like the era of the imperial or the military, where all the resources are somehow dominantly captured at the central level, where the lower level may not have a capability and adequate resources to respond. During the earlier droughts and the subsequent challenge when millions and millions people were really very much affected from the famine that occurred those days, the responsibility falls within the central government. But this time, this is not a central government. What it means is the regions, they have their own ultimate and immediate responsibility to respond if they feel that there is a problem that is deteriorating to any unwanted outcomes. Therefore, the federal government is very much committed, and in that commitment, we do not want to put more of the propaganda items, and we don't want to politicize that as well, because it's a duty of a responsible government to rescue his own citizens and his own people, and no one can claim beyond and above the Ethiopian government itself that they are more concerned about the situations that are unfolding around. So that's number one. Second, on our discussion, we also raised that people are talking about different outcomes, different scenarios, whether there is a drought or a famine or whether these kind of things. I think, as I said earlier, there are a clear-cut definitions that these are not for academic exercise. These are for social decisions. In fact, what you call the social response as well, where the drought is, as it is well explained and as is well understood, it's like the lack of or the inadequate precipitation. What it means is inadequate rain of whatever nature, and we may even say inadequate water resources in whatever nature, which is available for utilization. It may be for drinking, it may be for animals, livestock, it may be for crops, or it may be for whatever things. So if this extends for a while, for seasons, then the drought condition starts to prevail. It means people may start to use their own coping mechanisms so that they can respond to what is happening. In that case, we had several experiences of drought already in the country. By the way, the history of drought in Ethiopia, in fact, it's ranged for probably more than 500 years. Then the last 2020 to 2022 drought that affected about 11 million people, it was like in the history of 70 years in East Africa. So the drought condition is getting the worst and worst, and it really goes to season. And last season, and on the other one, it was for about 3 years. So this one, which we're currently facing in Amhara region, like 1.7 million, in Tigray about 1.4 million, in Oromia more than 550,000, in Afar about 300,000. It adds up to 3.9 million. So the definition as it stands require immediate support, life-saving support, and also a livelihood-saving support, and that is what it is. When it is famine, or they call it like catastrophe or famine, the worldwide accepted definition is that the severe and acute malnutrition in children, it has to be like more than 30%, and which really complicates to the lives of people. Second, the death rate or a mortality pattern of 2 persons per 10,000 per day, 2 persons per 10,000 population per day. And the third one is more than 20% of the population really starved to death. If we apply this same formula to wherever droughts are happening today, none of them are close to these definitions. None of them are close to these descriptions. In fact, there was a number of assessments, they call like FUSNet, multi-stakeholder rapid assessments, and our assessment of ourselves confirmed that even during the pause period, there was nothing closer to famine. And since then, we also started to boost up, and then also the partners come now as of December. We are trying to reach out to all that is possible. So according to ourselves and our assessment, and also partners' assessment, like as I said, the FUSNet that is supported by USAID, and also the other processes, there is no anything closer to famine. So that's, I think, something to be understood very well. But at the same time, there are intents of politicization and also intents of propaganda that would like to use the current humanitarian situation for something else. Or it's like, if they feel, as I said earlier, anyone, and something is moving towards the famine direction, now they have to stop all other activities, all development activities, all projects, all meetings, all unnecessary luxury type of things to reach out to the victims. The other one is the response capability. On the response part, the government was covering like 77% of the required humanitarian food assistance. And now it's only after December and now in January, February, that our partners now, they are trying to pick up. Even then, the resource base, what you call the humanitarian resource contribution, has been declining all the time. For example, last year, the humanitarian requirement plan was for about $4 billion US. Out of it, we received only 1.3 billion, which also is not coming to us, which goes to all kinds of UN partners to do their job, and it was only 33%. Then, even as we speak today, even though there are some indications it may improve later on, be it from Central Emergency Response Fund or be it from the Ethiopian Humanitarian Fund, the status which we are operating today is by far out of the demand, which means it's very, very much inadequate to respond. Given that circumstances, the Ethiopian government is doing all the necessary actions so that its own citizens, as a primary responsible entity, will not end up in any kind of deteriorated situation. Now, the call which we made through the media is everyone to do their own share properly. The partner to do their own share. The government will continue to do what it is doing. The regional states to do their level best again. And also make sure whatever resources we are getting into the regions is reaching the beneficiary without any misuse or misdirection, or even people call it a diversion. So if that is taking place, if we are getting the resource that is being sent from the Commission as properly as it is possible, because they are actually the ones who are handling those distribution. So the framework which we discussed was about how the federal government is responding and what situations we observe at that level. I think the third and the important area is our preparedness level. Our preparedness to respond to the victims or to the beneficiaries of climate change, to individuals, is as solid as it is all the time. We have made all the preparations. We are actually already started close to 50,000 metric ton of food will be distributed in the coming 3 months. And for some regions, that has already started, and that will be in January, February, March. And we at the same time expect the USAID support will extend a little bit better and further. So because of the 20% cap that has already been removed, we expect they will come up with a better coverage this time. So the USAID supported World Food Program joint emergency program with CRS and ourselves will align whatever is possible and will direct our resources wherever it is needed, and we will also follow those through a number of the monitoring mechanisms as well. The summary is, let us stop to pretend that something unknown is happening somewhere. Let us stop the propaganda item type of thing, the politicization of the humanitarian affairs, and humanitarian situations need to be politically neutral. Everyone, every reason should not be subject to utilize for other ends, not at all. And of course, the other message is a humanitarian support, relief aid has to go to the beneficiaries for the targeted individuals themselves. Nothing less, nothing more. It shouldn't be diverted to something else. Third, everyone has to play its own greatest role. The federal government will continue, and the regions, and also the subsequent levels, including our communities.